How's it going, guys? My name is Graham and welcome to Two Left Thumbs. This is a developer commentary on Return to Riddle School, my own fan-made project from several years ago where I completely remade Riddle School 1. Now, I essentially made this video 4 years ago when the game first came out, but as you can hear, I'm capping off my Riddle School anniversary series with Return to Riddle School. It was pretty rough. I wasn't used to recording things alone in front of the camera like this, and it comes across super stiff and awkward, and I've been very nostalgic for the series lately. I'm doing a complete replay-through of the series on my Let's Play channel, and so I thought I should cap that off by revisiting this, have that extra perspective of time, I guess. The motivation behind doing this was a little bit that I felt like I was in a little bit of a creative rut, that I really wanted to make something. I wanted to challenge myself, I wanted to see through a game project start to finish where I fully drew and programmed it, which I had never done before, but that well was dry. I didn't have any ideas, and I just thought, like, maybe there'd be a game somewhere on Newgrounds that would be fun to remake and put my own spin on. And I have always loved the Riddle School series. I had actually spoken with the series creator a few times before. Goatman appears in the thank you in a few credits for that game, as well as having a prominent featuring in Riddle Transfer. Goatman is me. That was my online thing way back when. And I actually realized that the 10th anniversary of Riddle School was coming up in like a month or something around the time that I was starting, maybe within a couple weeks only. It might have only been like 2 weeks. I already knew I was going to do a playthrough of the series for the Let's Play channel for that, and I was like, this will be a cool extra project. And he was like, oh yeah, great, go for it. I'm actually actively making Riddle Transfer 2 finally, so maybe we both release it on the 10th anniversary and it'll be like a thing. He obviously won the daily first and weekly first, and I got away with just a quick little daily second, which I'm still like, you know, I'm happily take second place to the actual final installment in the series. I was really happy we were able to coordinate that. It felt really cool. When I first uploaded this, I did not have the quit button. I just kind of like didn't think of it. And a few people in the comments were like, dude, you left out the quit button. It's like a recurring joke in the entire franchise. So I made sure to put that back in. All of these that you actually see are redrawn versions of the original game, except for the Riddle series one, which I brought back over from the original game because this link takes you to some more Riddle School related things. I don't have any sort of special features page or anything like that. This is just a link to where you can play it on Newgrounds. And I made sure this links to the brand new actual game, and a quick little like bone for myself there that I linked to the Let's Play channel. The fun facts took around 5 weeks. It took longer than I thought, but I really, you know, sprinted and then like moseyed and then sprinted, and then towards the end I did most of it in the last like 3 days. I pulled like an all-nighter to finish the programming because, like, oh man, did I underestimate how hard bug squashing would be in my first ever programmed game. It's such inefficient coding. Library items is like a common thing John had in his, and there's just a few general things about where this came from. I actually had attempted this once before, and it just didn't really come together, and I'm kind of glad it didn't, because it ended up working out way better to be a 10th anniversary thing alongside Riddle Transfer 2. I'm pretty happy about that. John usually has a disclaimer where he talks about the game being inspired by Pico's school and how at one point it was going to be a madness game and things like that. And so I included my own spin on the disclaimer, like carrying over that as a common thread across these games. I've been a longtime fan of JonBro and the Riddle School series. I've always wanted to attempt to remake a classic gamer animation. The 10th anniversary of the original Riddle School seemed like the perfect opportunity. It also provided a reason to learn some programming. I reached out to John, he gave me his blessing. Riddle School has a huge fan base, and it is my hope that I have remained true to what you all know and love from the series. I carried over the temple theme for this main menu. I wanted to make sure that was consistent across the series. And the menu screen here was one of the last things I did, so it's very plain. Like, there's no cool designs in the background or anything. I feel like it's kind of lame in that regard. Overall, you'll see that I pretty much did a one-to-one in terms of the art. Like, I didn't add a lot. Looking at it now, I'm a little bit disappointed in the fact that I didn't really, like, add a lot to the room. If I were to do it again now and give myself more time, there'd be things all over the desks, all over the walls, all that sort of stuff. But then I would also have to come up with unique, witty dialogue for all that as well. So there's a lot there. For the most part, the dialogue in this game is identical. I think in a few very small instances, like the grammar was confusing to me, or the phrasing, and I ended up changing it slightly in my own version of things. I did away with all the things that carried over from Madness, except for the Mathness black and white Mathness blackboard. That is a holdover, but anything else that was black and white actually has color now. I made the desks look like the kind of chair desk combo I had in my own elementary school. The UI is tucked away at the bottom, out of the way now, which I quite like. I'm in favor of. Anything that you click on around here is the same dialogue you're used to seeing for all these different things. But the sharpener, which you can normally go straight at, that's it. But I can't go up there empty-handed. I always felt like the fact that you just click the sharpener and instantly exit the room was a little confusing. Did he just go to use the sharpener and then just ran for the door instead? That's kind of what it felt like, which isn't very sneaky or clever or anything. So I tried to make it slightly more of a puzzle. You'll notice my redrawing of Mr. Calm. Maybe that design looks really fancy. Maybe it looks cool. Not my own. I mean, I drew it, but it's totally based on John's own re-envisioning of Mr. Calm for what I believe was intended to be called Riddle School Retold, which was basically intended to be a remastering of the game and series himself. And so I kind of borrowed it from that. I think it looks pretty sharp. I like the way his hair kind of bobs slightly separately from the rest of him. Redesigning Phil was really fun. I redid it so many times before I landed on something that I personally felt honored what we had come to know and love from that design. Big round head, big open eyes, a hoodie, which he doesn't always have in these earlier games, but I kind of picked my own colors, my own proportions. That was really fun to play around with. It probably looks more or less the same as what you know and are familiar with, but I feel like I took some quick little liberties. So you can actually grab a pencil. I'll take this pencil, but I refuse to take any notes. But trying to recreate someone else's sense of humor can be kind of tricky. John is a little bit more punny, a little bit more sarcastic than myself, but I tried my best to make sure anything I added maintained that humor. The fact that you can pick up the gum is kind of, maybe it feels a little bit stolen or borrowed from Riddle School 3. Maybe I should have come up with something more unique, but this made sense to me from a puzzles perspective. Ew, I don't care if it was mine. I can't believe I touched that old gum. If anyone's ever paying attention to this sort of thing, one true sign of me not knowing how to program at all is that there are precisely 8 slots and there are 8 items in the game. Based on the number of unique items you ever hold at any given time, I could have got away with 4 or 5 slots, but I don't know how to properly program an inventory. It doesn't matter what order you pick these up in. The pencil's always on the left, the gum's always one from the left. I couldn't figure out how to combine items, otherwise I was going to have the gum shoved onto the pencil, and the idea is that you stick the gum and pencil in the sharpener and break the sharpener. May I sharpen my pencil? Okay, but only one of you is allowed at a time. So the idea there, and if I would have had time, I would have made a cutscene for it, that he snapped the pencil off in there and then was like, oops, sorry, gotta go to the office and deal with that. Now that was a sharp idea. Gotta make sure I carry over that joke. You'll notice throughout that there's splotches of grime and puddles on the floor and things throughout this entire area. I kind of showed this to John ahead of time and was like, hey, what do you think? Do you think it kind of honored your original vision of the series and everything? And he was like, yeah, it looks great. Good work. It seems really clean. It seems like a school I would enjoy going to and not somewhere I'd like to escape from. And I thought, that's such a good point. I wish that I would have had that in mind from the beginning, or else it would have been much grosser and rougher. That would have been really fun to play around with, to make just this dumpy garbage school. The soundtrack for the original game also carried over from the Madness series, and it's super intense and aggressive. And so I actually contracted Slalecki, Alex Shia, who did the intro music for the Two Left Thumbs channel, to create something entirely new for this. This is what he came up with. He was inspired by, I'm not going to remember the specific series, but there's like a different school-based series that he's a fan of that he was kind of influenced by. 5 for Prez, the vote 5 joke carrying forward just the idea that on Newgrounds it's a voting 5 based system. So it's just a quick little way to try and ask people to go vote 5, you know? Which that was in the original game, that's not my own joke. I guess having the little thing that hovers and has text to tell you what is what when you hover over them is entirely brought backwards from future games. John eventually adds that himself. Apparently I never added text for insulting sign. Can't click on it, nothing happens there. This sync is like a whole thing. To me, especially, I don't know, whenever I was replaying through these games to try and keep an eye out for specific things that I could reference and tie into this remake, something just stood out about this ridiculous fountain. I even added an achievement. I'm not playing on Newgrounds right now, which I added achievements. There's not achievements in the original game. This sync is in Riddle School 1, 2, and 3, and I think like Riddle Transfer 2. It's like the exact sync. Like it just copy and paste from the game files, reuse the animations identical, and so I may have sneakily decompiled the Riddle School, one of the installments, to steal it exactly frame for frame, the identical sync. That was just like a fun thing for myself. I did change the color though, because John draws his backgrounds all in black. Just a personal aesthetic thing for myself. I like when the characters are outlined in black and everything else is like colored outlines. I just think that looks better, kind of helps the characters stand out, so I changed that. I changed one thing about it. Inside Miss Coffee's classroom, I guess I changed a few things around here. Her desk is littered with coffee, which I wish I added details like that throughout. She's no longer doing her spinning pointer thing anymore, since I made her more like a human proportioned person. That didn't make a lot of sense. It was a fun challenge to update her character design specifically. I had a few different versions, and I'm really happy with like the rat's nest hair and the teeny glasses. I don't know, I really like the way that one all came together, actually. I guess I lost the Oscar the Grouch like joke on the side of the trash can. I wonder why I didn't carry that over. It's something I guess I tried to make it look like more like a real trash can. There is a picture in this room in the original game that is just, it says JonBro up the side, and it's this fancy tree, and I was going to recreate that in some way and maybe put my own name on the side or something, and I thought a funnier way to tie things back around would be to have John contribute to this game in some way. So I straight up asked him, hey, do you have something I could stick in a frame on the wall, whether it's something you already have or draw uniquely for this? I think he already had this. Dog Bro, this weird dogfish thing that he made, is drawn by somebody named JonBro. It's probably the nicest thing in the whole school. I was updating the character designs here, which again, that was like really fun for myself. I loved doing that, trying to keep it rooted in the original and adding my own flair to it, but my own flair itself is pulling from the full series. Some circular logic, but I'm very happy with it. Smiley, for instance, she has hair right from the beginning, which now I look back on and realize kind of spoils a particular puzzle and piece of continuity in Riddle Transfer 1. Whoops. If I were to redo this, I would do away with the hair, I think. And maybe I would think of a new way to add a little something, like she would get a cool headband or like a bow or something. Because for continuity's sake, that would make more sense. But hey, this isn't a canon game anyways, it's my own random whatevers. Fred, the only thing I really did there is he has a striped shirt now and green pants. Just wanted him to have a unique pants color. I like the way Smiley's kicking her legs, like she's just really enjoying herself. I made sure the 2 different colors for his stripes actually come from 2 separate Fred designs across the series. He's had that green and beige at 2 separate points, and I thought the stripe looked cool and unique and different, and it just carries forward from backwards, I guess, from other games. Zach, I wanted to really sell the shaking and the chattering of the coldness. I feel like that came across really well. I'm happy with that. And I thought if so many of these characters are just wearing hoodies all the time and they're all bald in like non-distinct ways, although I made sure they all had different like skin colors and tones to stand out a bit more, I figured, hey, if he's freezing cold, he would put his hood up, and that's just a way to have him be the tiniest bit more distinct. I was really happy with that. It's like the simplest, smallest decision in this entire thing, and for whatever reason, I was so pleased with myself. The gaping hole, totally added. Zach says he saw a clown hiding in that hole, but I don't believe him. Which itself is a reference to One Night at Flumpty's, one of JonBro's, Jonochrome's, other series that he's worked on. There's a point in that where there's a clown that slowly creeps its way towards you and tries to jump scare you. So that's a little shout out to that for anyone who didn't know that John made Riddle School and Flumpty's. The guy's good at making some viral content. The janitor's closet. I added a little bit more detail in this, made it seem like a little bit more of a filled out closet. I made sure to maintain the 808 Bob name tag. There's also a pair of screwdrivers and like a drumstick on the wall, just because that seemed funny and silly. What are you doing here? Get out of my closet. I guess I redesigned him a fair amount too. Gave him a unique head shape and like special hairdo. Tried to make things a little bit different there. I was going to add a puzzle that involved going to the women's washroom. It seemed a little weird, and since John had so specifically avoided that for so long, then I was like, I should stick with that and make sure that I don't step on that in any way. Here's some of my more just griming up the school a little bit by just putting splashes and holes and things. Inside the men's washroom, this is so ridiculous, but in that original game, there's like a really weird looking sink, and when you click on it, there's a line about like, wow, if only everything in the school looked so nice. And I thought it was meant to be sarcastic, because so many things Phil says is sarcastic. And so I thought, hey, let's make the world's ugliest looking sink possible and keep that dialogue. I drew a few. They weren't like ugly enough. It was hard to make it ugly. Turns out John's like proud of that. At the time when he was 11 making that first game, he was like, damn, I nailed this. So instead what I went with is a weird abstract reality bending sink that doesn't make sense. Water comes out of parts of the sink that you wouldn't expect. It like doesn't obey the laws of physics or anything. So that was just fun to mess around with. I think I meant to have it that it only pours the water when you click on it, but I kind of broke that and it's stuck in an infinite loop instead. This abstract sink comes from Penrose Ink. So I gave it new dialogue there. I also at one point had it as, how did I have it? Penrose Sink Company or something? And so you were supposed to read it like Penrose Sink. But that seemed like too difficult of a joke. It didn't like make enough sense. And it seemed too abstract. So more on the money there. Penrose, like the Penrose Stairs. Is that the illusion? I've never figured out how to use it. I usually wash up in the fountain instead. The fountain. Then over on the bathroom stall, which in the original has a bunch of stuff written all over it, I kind of did my own. I think orange are my fave color. That carries over because orange legit is like my favorite color, so I just kind of kept that. 5 was not here, might have also been there. I added my own goat character. PL2, which I kind of wanted intentionally for it to look a tiny bit like PLO, like please leave on. But a Pirate School, or not Pirate School, Pirate Launch is another game that I made, and I always had plans for Pirate Launch 2. I have a folder on my computer where I have like most of the art done for that, and it just never happened. But that's a little tease for a game that unfortunately never came to be, and a little Two Left Thumbs logo, which so many people have asked. I'm sorry, I don't have two left thumbs. Someone asked me to do a hand reveal. It's a joke, it's a pun. You know, when you have 2 left feet, you're bad at dancing. When you have 2 left thumbs, you're bad at video games. So no, I'm sorry, I don't have 2 left thumbs. a piece of an additional puzzle, because I wanted to make sure that this game was not something that people could just fly through. If you've played through Riddle School 100 times, you can beat that in seconds, like 20 seconds or something, right? You know exactly where to click, what to do. I wanted new puzzles that forced people to stop, enjoy what had been redone and added and changed. So one of those is the shiny ring on the floor. What a precious looking ring. Quick Lord of the Rings reference. You'll notice it just kind of looks like abstract, not quite certain what that is. If you were to turn it upside down and flip it around, it is the J from JonBro's logo. So that's where that comes from. That's why that's a thing. We have Richie in the hallway here. If you try to talk to him, he needs a hall pass. It's the same usual thing. I did change it from hall guard to hall monitor, just because I never even had hall monitors in my school growing up, but I think in Canada we call them hall monitors instead of guards. Same location, the one lockless locker. You can snake the hall pass out of there. You can see these things just appear wherever it makes sense, rather than it being where it makes sense, like sequentially, they're locked into specific parts. That's my own bad programming. So you can give the feather duster. You're a real lifesaver. I've been looking all over the school for this. The birds on the playground need dusting. Here's $1. Don't waste it on socks. I think that dialogue all carries over. Here, now that you're not immediately kicked out of the room, you can click on the drumstick. That might be a broken achievement. There you go. You gotta click on a very particular part. Screw this, because it's not a screwdriver. That's a little bit of a bug that he shouldn't have kicked you out of the room again. Whoops. Programming's not my thing, okay? So you can I kind of wish I added something like you could try to bribe him. Like, that'd be funny. Live and learn. Instead, hand over the hall pass. He gets on out of there. The teacher's lounge, it's locked. They're very protective of their lounge. Which, to fit this in at all, it's a new addition. I had to kind of rearrange the layout a little bit. The men's and women's room were on 2 different screens before. Instead, I kind of squeezed them together there. Even though when you're in the room, it's like a full-size room, and that doesn't make sense whatsoever unless the women's room was just like closet-sized. My bad, ladies. That was just how things fit layout-wise, because I needed the teacher's lounge to be added. Chubb chilling outside the office. I was showing someone else this game. I honestly don't remember who at this point. Like, hey, this is what I'm working on. I'm going to be remaking this game. And when they saw Chubb with "Feed Me" written on his chest on his shirt there, they thought it looked like someone had written it in ketchup. And I thought that was too good of a joke. John has said now, too, that he loves that as a joke, and that neither of us can take credit for it. That's totally a unique, totally separate thing. But I kind of love it. I wish I could say that I came up with that, because it's almost too clever. I think most of this carries over from the original game, so there's no new dialogue there. The intercom, one time that intercom broke and squealed nonstop for an entire week. I still have troubles hearing thanks to that stupid thing. That's new addition, which becomes relevant. This room was really fun to design, and I feel like I'd kind of gotten into the swing at things at this point and learned how to better make use of the perspective, which, like, I'm not mindful of that usually when I'm drawing, and I made sure to really do it in this game with the lines all coalescing in one point. Normally on the wall, there's the blueprint of the cafeteria. I thought it would be funny to take that a step further, so this is a screenshot of the cafeteria from the actual Riddle School one, and inset in that is the blueprint. This picture is dated 2006, which would have been 10 years prior, 10th anniversary. I don't think this place has been cleaned in a decade. And within that, you can click this little center blueprint, circa 2006. You can see an old diagram of the cafeteria, probably to remind us what it looked like when it was clean. All of these, the different stains, all carry over from that first game. I added this because I just needed to make one more little bit of grime. Fred stomped a yogurt package over there. That was months ago. Gross. Although these are supposedly 10 years old. I'm just realizing that doesn't make sense. That's the school famous Smiley Smudge. That's how I made fun of Smiley, with mustard, which I slightly changed that dialogue, I think, and that's why Phil starts the game in Mr. Calm's class, but apparently he also did it 10 years ago. So ignore that, because I just now realized that that doesn't make sense. I rotated the cookies machine, maintained the same incorrect spelling, but I just thought it would be fun to like design a kind of logo for that. I had fun with it. It's broken. This is entirely new. I drew everything in it first and then added the dialogue. This is where they serve my favorites, like green mush, orange smush, and brown discs. Ugh, I hate those discs. This is a little bit different of a step in the overall puzzles of this game. Normally you can check on Greg's sleep. He's just sleeping, he's well rested. What you can do instead, because normally you can just give the $1 to Chubb, and that's good enough even though he's asking for a cookie. Again, I wish that there was dialogue there of him being like, I can't eat that, or something. So that's another one of those moments where I want people to stop and try something new. You instead give the $1 to Greg. Wake up, I could use a hand. What, is that you, Phil? I have some cash with your name on it if you do me a favor. What, you wrote my name on it? Isn't it worth less now? Look, I don't have a lot of time. Do you want the money or not? It depends. Do I need to get up? All I need you to do is cry until someone comes to check on you. Sounds easy enough. You got a deal. Where? Boo-hoo. Sobbing sound. I'm crying. Where? Which he's not really selling it with the dialogue that just loops, but somehow he conjured up like just a flood of fake tears. So it's pretty good, pretty deceptive. That sets off the intercom. Attention to all available staff. There's some brat crying, a student crying in the cafeteria. Usually she doesn't even catch those slip-ups. I'm currently barricaded in an office by some kind of yellow boulder. Chubb, will someone from the teacher's lounge please handle this? This might be my only chance. I better act fast. Which then, going over to this room, we have a teacher run across out in front of us. This better be quick. My ham sandwich is going to get cold. Which, the joke there is that a hot ham sandwich is weird. It probably already is cold. One thing also that the teacher runs to the room. If you go back to the room, he's not there. That was I don't even know if I considered including that. Looking back, it's just like a major oversight, really. I tried to think of a teacher to use, but the different games take place in Riddle Elementary, Middle School, and High School. So I guess I could have pulled a teacher from one of those that followed Phil along through his adventures, but that seemed like it kind of broke the continuity, even though I screwed that up in a few other places, that a teacher would already know Phil from his elementary days. So I made an original character there. That was like fun to come up with in design. Never named him though. And I don't know if anyone who's played this game has come up with their own, based on Miss Coffee and Mrs. Green and all those different characters throughout the series who are named based on like one singular thing about them. He'd probably end up being Mr. Ham or Mr. Pork or Mr. Sausage or something, but I never actually bothered naming him. That is how you gain access to the teacher's lounge, which you would think maybe is like the one thing in the school that is like nice and invested in, but no, it's also dumpy. You got this coffee pot on the shelf spilt everywhere, one terrible chair. I just like writing things on boards and hiding little extra details there. I do it in like so many of my animations. Is this marker permanent? Whoops. And then in the bulletin board portion, stress relief, I guess that would just be important for these stressed out teachers. A little sad face and tax. And I love this joke, even though it's a little hard to see. Wanted, poster ripper, and then whoever that is ripped the poster. I'm quite proud of that small little detail. You'll immediately notice the suspicious looking brick. TV has taught me that this different colored brick should act as a secret switch. But here it seems like they ran out of real bricks and started using tissue boxes. So it makes you wonder, why did they brick off this wall in the middle of the school, huh? Well, here's where the ring comes in handy. we have this little J, which is actually, once it's, flipped around, reversed, the JonBro J, a ring slot, which, slip that in there. Oh, the ring I found fits perfectly into this slot. And here's the secret passage to the real teacher's lounge. This is more like what I expected. Think, I've been kicking a cabbage around at recess because they can't afford a soccer ball. I put a flying pig head on the wall because I thought it would be funny if that was the school's mascot, the RE for Riddle Elementary. And, the Riddle, or the flying pig comes up in Riddle School 3 and again in Riddle Transfer. And then, maybe in one other game, it becomes kind of a recurring thing. I did not intend for it to look so much like Piglet. I also didn't intend for it to look like someone stuffed and mounted a head. It was supposed to be like a statue. I should have made it all gray or something, made out of stone, porcelain. I don't know. I kind of look at it now and I'm like, gross. It looks like they just ripped a pig's head off. The flying pig is our school's mascot. The non-team mascot, which I don't even know what joke I was going for with that anymore. Too bad we don't have any sports teams. There you go. So you don't have sports teams. That's why it's a non-team mascot. Or even a gym for that matter. Which was myself kind of poking fun a little bit. While I was mapping out this game, I had this idea of a puzzle that took place in the gym, since there's not a gym at any point in this entire series. And I was like, this will be it. I'll add a gym. I couldn't come up with a puzzle for it, but I still wanted to acknowledge the fact that there usually isn't a gym. There's a cookie box on the table. Darn, it's empty. Comfy chair. Those look so comfy. No wonder I could never find any of the teachers outside of class. I should have written a separate piece of dialogue for each chair. I feel like John does that when he duplicates items. And the floor cookie behind the chair. I once saw Chubb eat from the trash. I'm sure he won't mind a floor cookie. And I probably would have added a bit more details to this room, but I was kind of rushing a bit at this point. I'd spent that time elsewhere in development. You can toss Chubb the cookie, and he finally actually gets a cookie this time. A little bit of screen shake there when he lands on the floor. What are you doing here? I was gonna fill all these shelves and tabletops and everything with extra little details and just ran out of time. So it's so bare bones. I never really liked the box office joke, and I asked John about it because I was like, is there something deep there that I should be recreating and paying tribute to? And he's like, just a pun that I like. It didn't really resonate with me, and I didn't think it would be very fun to just draw a room full of boxes. I was trying to challenge myself a little bit artistically, so I made a pretty regular looking office. I didn't even have time to make it look crappy. It looks really clean and nice. Principal question, which I've always question, what's that? It's supposed to be question. I didn't even have time to add my own dialogue branches or anything, so I need to talk to the principal. I want to tell him a joke. That's great. Go on in. This cutscene is nearly identical. I recreated that quite fully. I even reused the Tricky Madness music from that. I changed one thing. Right after this, you actually see Phil leave the room before the desk flip. That's just in the original game. It almost looks like the teacher tosses Phil out the room by flipping the desk, and it seemed really hyper-violent and aggressive. Clarified that a little bit. It's a close call. I'd better hurry out of here. I would have loved if when you were going right to left, Phil was facing the other way. I tried to program that in. Also ran out of time. I really just wanted the game to be done, and I wanted to make sure I released it the same day that JonBro did, so I really just cut some corners right at the end there. I'm sure people didn't mind too much. My remake and a recreation of the screen from the original game here. If you just let the credits play out normally, run through things, I added a little scene at the end that also kind of ties things to the larger series. Maybe it's spoiler-esque, but it's more of a continuity thing. Sir, a student has escaped from Riddle Elementary School. Excellent. Initiate Project Vision. At once, sir. Then things just fade out to black. It's just a small little addition, just making sure things carry through fully there. I probably could have done more to maintain continuity now that I look at it here and realize I screwed up a few things. With one tiny little addition, this little guy on the ground here, which itself is a secret ending if you click on that. Otherwise it just goes to like this quick interaction, which is something tying it back into Riddle School 5. Sir, a student has escaped from Riddle Elementary School. Excellent. Initiate project. Sir, something's wrong. What is going on down there? Our time machine has malfunctioned. We're losing control of our reality. Our timeline has become unstable. Well, there's a regular achievement, escape, and then there's the secret achievement, something's wrong. This secret ending was leaving myself a little window to make a Riddle spin-off game, which I have done like a lot of planning for right around this time. I just loved working on this so much. I felt so connected to the characters. It was just a joy to work on. And so I fully mapped out at first a trilogy, and then I took a lesson from John's book there and was like, don't start with the trilogy. That's too ridiculous. Start with one game and see if you feel motivated to carry it on. I fully mapped this out. All the puzzles, all the designs, everything is written out on paper. I can share. I can share a few screens from it even. I don't want to get into more detail than that because someday I'll be hopefully creating full-time videos, games, what have you. And at that point, I'll set aside a couple weeks and actually finally make this game. It just seems like it would be really fun. And how that spin-off initiates is like a branching timeline. In that moment, that secret ending, and that's why that's in the game. Some people didn't even find it, and the ones who did were like, okay, but what's up with that? Yeah, there is a plan, there is a reason, something I've had in mind since before even releasing this game 4 years ago. Someday I'll get a chance to do that. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. It's just fun for me to revisit this and give it an updated look, I guess, even though my take on things probably hasn't changed much in 4 years. I had only ever done commentary on this specific game, even though I've made a bunch of games and animations and have a bunch of discarded projects on my hard drive. I would love to do videos on those. I don't know if I will do that immediately, but this was just a nice, easy thing to put together to give myself a break from the very lengthy Henry Stickmin series Easter egg finding the references videos. I just needed to give myself a bit of extra time there. So it seemed like a great time to revisit this. In the end cards and in the description, I'll have a link to a playlist where I've completely replayed through this series and have a fresh look at that. I think that could be fun and worth watching, enjoying together. Thank you guys all so much. It's been just like an absolutely phenomenal month on the channel. It's really mind-blowing actually, and that idea of like doing things like this full-time has really felt like a reality all of a sudden. And I have you guys to thank for that. Special thank you to the patrons who are playing their small part to make that sort of dream a reality. I appreciate it so much. Thank you all again, and I'll see you again soon.